Great to have you back, Jennifer. Now I wanted to talk to you about music and how that falls into the post-production work.
Well, for me, as a post-production supervisor, sometimes you have music supervisors, but I tend to do the music anyway. And people who hire me know that I'll music supervise as well. It's an interesting question in that there's two ways it works. Sometimes you'll get an editor that'll call you into the cutting room and say, I need a piece of music for this. Or a director will say, I need a piece of music for this. And so you're looking at a scene and you know you're looking at a certain number of beats per second or beats per minute, or they're looking for something of a certain dramatic level. A little, a lot, you know, a whole lot. And, or a scene in a teenager's room where you want a specific feel, right, a specific mood. And so music obviously has a lot to do with creating the mood for a product. And I keep, silly to say, I keep a huge library of not only library music that's affordable, but one of the most exciting things I've been able to do is make a connection with someone in music who brings in up-and-coming bands. And in a particular show where it was a lot of teenagers involved, we were able to source music, and I got this big box of CDs I still like CDs for whatever reason. A lot of times when I'm looking for music, I'll stick it in the background while I'm working, and I'll hear a piece of music and say, that'd be perfect for, or that might be great for, I gotta get this to the director, and then I'll create a reel for him or for the cutting room, and they can play with it in there. We actually broke a band on a mini-series I did, an Australian band, and their particular placement caused their band to explode. And they ended up with a tour because of it, which was really sort of exciting because we were just looking for the right piece of music for the right mood, and we wanted it to be original. You know, we didn't have a budget for Justin Bieber or the Beatles, but we were looking to get something that would still give us that energy. And so we were able to do that. And when I worked on Nero Wolf, I'll use that as an example, we were looking for 40s music. A lot of people my age and your age, they don't know swing music. My dad loved it. So I was really familiar with it. So I was able to find pieces that sounded like, you know, Jimmy Dorsey, but didn't cost what Jimmy Dorsey would cost. And so you'd send over reels, like a big bunch of music to the cutting room, and they'd have lots to choose from. So you work in conjunction with the editor and the director and the producer in terms of finding it and then making it affordable, be it, you know, begging for rights for something that's really popular, and a band says, you know, I really like that movie, or that particular scene means something to me, so give them a break. Or finding something that's a sound-alike for it, or will also work, and putting that in.
What are some of the issues that you run into
with
music?
With music? Cost. That's usually the big one in post is cost. There's either not enough money in the budget for music because everybody thinks you can get it for free, and a lot of bands, young bands, will give their stuff away for free. So it gets under budgeted a lot, or unreasonable expectations. Somebody thinks, oh, we should be able to get this Mick Jagger song for $50,000. That's reasonable. Well, that's not what, you know, Warner Chappell or Universal Music thinks is reasonable, and maybe that's not what Mick Jagger thinks is reasonable either. And so worldwide rights, you know, for $50,000, not happening. And explaining that sometimes is really hard, because if that particular piece of music has been in that cut since the week after shooting, or maybe even before shooting ended, then everybody's fallen in love with it. And now we're asking the producer, will you give us the extra money? And I'm going hand in hand and saying, they really want this, you know, can we have it, to the executive producer? Or you're going to the network and saying to the network, would you help us out with this cost? And sometimes they will. Sometimes they'll cost share with you. And sometimes you're just out of luck, and, you know, you've fallen in love with a piece that's fabulous, but you just can't afford it, you know? Just like a car, just like buying a car.
You said worldwide rights. Now, what are some of the issues that you run into when dealing with sound or music and going into foreign markets?
Well, a lot of times with music, if you have a popular song from a popular band, then you're going to clear it for 5 years, which will give your network their multiple runs before it It goes into syndication. And once it hits the syndication mark, your 5 years are up. So somebody's keeping their eye on that clock, usually a lawyer. When it goes out, then you have to replace that music. So you're going back to the mix stage to replace that popular song with something different. And it's finding a piece that will work or paying a composer to replace that music because it's less expensive or because you'll get something that's better or more perfect for that particular scene because your rights have expired.
Cool. Well, thank you. And I have one more question to ask you in a bit.